Wonderful. So thank you so much, Joy. Right, so to finish off our meeting, we always have a charity spotlight. Obviously, it's a very important room for these charities to be in, but it's also a very important room for us to find out what's going on in the wider society. So I would like to invite Gabby Field to join me, who's from the wonderful Refuge, a tremendous charity, of also our Charity of the Year for Rising Stars as well. So Gabby, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Vanessa, or thank you. Hello, everyone, and hello, everyone virtual as well. I'm Gabby Field. I'm Director of Fundraising and Comms at Refuge. So we haven't got long today, so I'm going to talk to you a bit about what we do, and then I'm going to invite my colleague Katie up to talk a bit around what we do around our values as a feminist organisation. So just before I go in, just to let you all know, I am going to be talking about domestic abuse, so I'm just informing you that before I start my conversation. So I'm hoping most of you know who Refuge are, but the likelihood is you don't. So Refuge, we are the largest provider of services for domestic abuse for women and their children. So we cover multiple areas across the UK and different services to support women and their children going through domestic abuse. So I want to talk to you a bit about what is actually happening in the world. Some of you may know some of these figures, some of you may not. Right now in this room, 1 in 4 of us will be experiencing domestic abuse at some point in our lifetime. And every 30 seconds, the police receive a call for help related to domestic abuse. More harrowing than that, in a week, 2 women are killed by their perpetrator and 3 more will take their own lives. That's 5 women a week who are losing their lives because of domestic abuse. If that was anywhere else in our society, we would be shouting about this, but we are not. Refuge has been around for 51 years, and we haven't seen much change in the statistics. So this is why it is really important. One thing I'd ask all of you today is take a note of some of these stats and tell someone today. Tell anyone, whoever it is, share and spread the news that this is not going anywhere. We are still in an epidemic of domestic abuse in the UK and worldwide. The scale is enormous. So we are the largest provider of services to support women and their children, and we do that in a multitude of different ways. So we currently have 44 secure locations with refuges, so women that actually need to escape and be put into a safe space. We run services in different areas across the UK. We also run the 24-hour free National Domestic Abuse Helpline, and this is the point of entry for so many people. At the moment, the demand for our helpline is we can't cope with the demand. It's not just women who are seeking help and needing to flee. We get calls from family members, we get calls from friends, we get calls from local authorities, from the police, from education sector. People use this helpline to find out information about how they can help, as well as women in desperate need. We also have our tech abuse and economic empowerment team. We're currently the only organisation to have a specialist team that are really looking at tech abuse. One other thing, going back to the statistics that we had before, it's not just that people don't realise the epidemic that is domestic abuse, but actually we're having to re-educate people about what domestic abuse is. People think domestic abuse is still black eyes and broken bones, but it's not. We are seeing perpetrators use power and control by technology. And this, for us, is on a scale that we never could comprehend. Our team, our dedicated team, of which there are 8 of them covering the whole of the UK, are having to keep up with the trends in technology constantly. It is changing daily. An example of how economic abuse is being used against women, we're being told that Ring doorbells, as an example, is a great product to have. But this is where somebody who is a perpetrator and is abusing power and control is using that to control a woman. We are seeing cases constantly through the national helpline, but actually women that are coming to our refuges, about how we are supporting them to continue to use tech, but actually in a safe way. Because there are many stories I could spend hours talking about, unfortunately, about how men, in particular, as this is a gendered issue, are using technology to continue to use that power and control. We also have culturally and linguistic specific services in some of our areas because some of the forms of abuse that women experience are sometimes quite culturally specific. So again, we work with women and with other specialist organisations to really support the specific need of that particular form of abuse. We also do a huge amount across our community support services. So again, not all women who are experiencing domestic abuse need to flee. We actually try and support women to stay in their own home if it's safe to do so. So our community services are there to support women in those circumstances. And then as an organisation, we do a huge amount of work nationally and globally around campaigning and awareness raising. I'm hoping many of you here may have seen the recent stunt we did with the bad apples. If you did, you may have seen it. It was us that did that, about calling out around the misogyny and abuse through the Met Police Service. So, I don't like these terms, but I feel this is quite a younger generation thing to give a name to a thing. So a permacrisis is apparently the new phrase we're using as where we're currently at. So we know that from COVID-19, when we went into the first lockdown, the media really picked up on the issue of domestic abuse because Boris Johnson at that time was telling us to lock down, stay at home, it was safe, but it was the most unsafe thing to do for women. We saw a 64% increase in the helpline calls, and the visits to our helpline website have increased 7-fold, and they have not decreased. So what the media did was raise more awareness that we were here as an organisation, but now we are seeing the need has not fallen at all. The cost of our services has increased, and the income we're getting has dropped. So we are seeing that actually the long-term impact of what COVID-19 did for us as an organisation is here to stay. And this increase is still not touching the surface. Our helpline is only able to answer 35% of calls still currently through the funding that we get. The demand for our services has increased, and as I said, it remains high, but also the cost of living crisis. So women in our refuges who are sometimes really struggling to get access to funding, and actually those that are getting universal credit, are having to make decisions that they can't take their children out. They can't buy stuff for their children because actually just feeding them within the refuge is costing them astronomically more. And the epidemic of violence, the police trust, the low convictions and high-profile murders, and the rise of misogyny online. This is what we are seeing. You know, I'm sure many of you have read many articles in the last couple of weeks as well. So I'm hoping through the form of technology, we're now going to show you a short video about the National Domestic Abuse Helpline.
I was walking on eggshells around my partner. Didn't know where to turn. I'd read about Refuge's National Domestic Abuse Helpline, but I was hesitant to call. The woman I spoke to really understood my situation though. It was such a relief just to talk. It made me feel sane again. I was reassured that it was a confidential and non-judgmental service run by a charity. She said I could ring at any time, even if I just wanted to talk about what I was going through. It's free and open 24 hours a day. It was comforting to know that the helpline is staffed by an all-female team of experts and that I can also contact them using live chat. I was told that the helpline is open to any woman who is afraid of her partner, whether you're being physically abused or not. The helpline advisor helped me realise I'm not alone and reassured me it wasn't my fault. That was really empowering, and I began to believe in myself again. She made me feel like I had choices. From that moment on, I could see a life free from violence and fear. That phone call was the beginning of the rest of my life.
This on here is just an example of one of the campaigns that we've done. And as I said, and from the video, the National Domestic Abuse Helpline is the first point of contact. Please memorise the number. Another thing I'd say for you to share, make sure that's in your organisation somewhere, on your intranet, wherever you have a space which shares things like mental health helplines, please make sure that number's on there, because the reality is in your organisations there are women experiencing this right now. But the most amazing thing about our organisation is right now we are supporting 7,500 women and children, and we are making such a difference. It's not just life-changing, it's life-saving what we do. And every day I'm completely inspired. Even at events like this, Katie and I speak quite regularly. We are told by women in rooms where we are at about their own experiences. So being a listening ear and taking people to the National Domestic Abuse Helpline is the one thing that I will leave you with. I'm going to pass you over to Katie, who's going to talk a little bit more quickly about our values and a feminist organisation.
Thanks, Gabby. And now I need to manage a clicker, a microphone, and a notebook, and some timing. So thanks for sharing your imposter syndrome, Joy, because that resonates. So, as Gabby said, we will believe you, and the National Domestic Abuse Helpline is incredibly important. I will run us through very quickly what our values are. They are never shy away, build it together, show we care, and learn every day. Feminism is at the heart of our values, and we know that domestic abuse is a gendered crime. We not only support survivors with our values, but we work really hard to dismantle the structures and the power imbalances that create a society where domestic abuse is allowed to happen and where it's tolerated. We live our values as a feminist organisation, and something that's really important to us is that our frontline connection means that we empower survivor voices through everything that we do. We have a great number of our staff are survivors themselves, and it's a really important part of the support network and the kind of everything we do within Refuge to make sure that our survivors are heard and supported as well as staff members and also as women who we support through our activities. We have a women's network group, and we have 7 other specific groups, and we all work together in the same ways that you all do to support the networks that you have. As a uniquely female-focused organisation, you won't be surprised to know that 85% of our leadership team is women, and on our board and our senior management team, we're overwhelmingly female, so we don't have some of the challenges that you do with mansplaining and the kind of male representation issues. They don't really feature in Refuge, but we also work really hard to cover off a whole range of topics through our EDI strategy that we have, and very happy to share that with you at a later time. And I just wanted to let you know a little bit about how you can support us through partnerships and how we work with businesses. I'm going to put my clicker down. So we have really positive partnerships with all kinds of businesses, anything from brand product partnerships, 10% of products saved to Refuge, and then also much more complex strategic partnerships with institutions such as Barclays and Co-op Bank, because we know that domestic abuse survivors experience a lot of abuse through their finances, and there's a regulatory imperative for banks and financial institutions to serve their vulnerable customers. We do a huge amount of work in this space, and we're really happy to share what we do on all of that. Our corporate partnerships cross a whole range of things. Firstly, we look at raising awareness, so supporting businesses to help their workforce to understand what domestic abuse is and how it works. We support businesses to meet their ESG goals as well through partnerships. And we also are very, very thankful and appreciative of the financial support we receive from businesses, which enables us to run our really important services because we are a charity. So very finally and very quickly, what can you do? So the decision makers in the room, or people with access to decision makers, for some companies, you're reaching the end of your financial year. Is there any budget left in your CSR pot to donate to Refuge to support us? We would very much welcome it. The cost of living crisis is having a huge impact on our services and the income we have. Just the energy bills in our refuges is going to cost us £1 million more this year than we thought. So we're really appreciative of financial contributions. You have survivors in your workforce. As Gabby said, please signpost the National Domestic Abuse Helpline, and we're very happy to help you on International Women's Day with any messaging or any other time with stuff through your network. Number 3, can we join any of your events? We are operating on a shoestring internally, and we don't have funds for speakers. So actually, it's really helpful for us if you're doing really exciting, innovative things through your networks. Can we just join to learn? That would be absolutely great. And please come and say hello at the end. Come and talk to me about the partnerships that we have. Come and find out more about how it works. We're win-win strategic partnerships, and they're very individual to the businesses that we support. So what can we do to help you? And it will no doubt be very different from every company to another. And then the last one is mentor me. I'm a member of the EDI steering group, and that's new to my role. So I'm really interested to meet people in this room who are further along that journey, and I welcome a coffee and a chat. Thank you very much. And lastly, on the last slide, there's the helpline number again.